Is it obsession? At Sawyer, it's persistence. For over 55 years, we've pursued the harmony of precision and artistry. Our handcrafted paddles and oars unite industry-leading innovation with timeless craftsmanship. Each stroke tells a story shaped by the perfect balance of wood and carbon honed through decades of refinement. The result? The finest paddles and oars on the water for those who demand nothing less than excellence. Experience the art of performance. Experience Sawyer.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sawyer Live, coming to you live from the Sawyer factory in Talent, Oregon. We wanted to kick off 2026 with a new series. We kind of launched this during COVID, and we're kind of finding that, hey, it's still necessary. You don't get a chance to interact with our brand all that much. So we figured, what the heck? Why don't we bring you as much as we can about Sawyer? All right. Well, hey, we might be back. There might be a little glitch there. Sorry about that. We're trying to troubleshoot all this. This is our soft launch. So, hey, this is live. Things are going to happen. So sorry for any inconvenience, but we're going to keep it rolling. Took a little pause there, had a little technical difficulty. I do have my my producer, aka my son, in the background helping make this all happen. And we do have our team that's going to be monitoring comments. So we're going to keep this all going, and we definitely want you to stick with us, hang with us for a few minutes at least, try and get your questions in. And then, of course, if we don't get a chance to answer them here live, we will answer those after we're done here. But Sawyer Live from the factory, we're going to do this every couple weeks. And as I started out in the very beginning, is literally, we're thinking here in 2026, how often do you get a chance to interact with the brands? You know, you go to our dealer bases. We have dealer base all over the country, and our dealers are running a business. You know, they basically need to bring in what they think is going to make a difference and what's going to sell in the Sawyer line. Well, as many of you know, they carry what is a selected kind of scope of Sawyer. But as you start to look at the Sawyer line on our website, there's a broad offering. And we sell to several different entities. So depending on what that entity is primarily focused on, that's what you're going to find at their store. So one, our dealers are great. Definitely encourage you to shop local, save on shipping, go in and talk with the expertise of your local shops. But if you don't have a shop nearby, or you're not getting your answers that you want, then definitely reach out to our team. We have a large team of customer service folks that are on the sales side, both in our retail department, in our pro department, in our online sales, and our dealer wholesale. And all of our team pretty much fields calls from everyone. So that means if you're a dealer, you've got people that are supposed to be taking care of you, and they're going to make sure they get all your things taken care of. And they're working on your orders, making sure that little changes get made, all those details. If you're a retail customer, you have a lot of different needs. You're just looking for the best pair of oars or the best paddle for your specific situation. Because of that, we have a customer service person, Wendy, who primarily all she does is take your calls, listen to your watch your emails, read your emails, and basically figure out what you need and give you those responses to help you make your choice. Pros, you pretty much know what you want, and we do definitely enjoy working with all the pro staff. A lot of pros are running several of our oarlocks, our oars and oarlocks, and also a lot of whitewater guides are running our guide sticks. Customers see those being used, then in turn, they reach out to us, say, hey, I want what that guide was rowing when I went on that fishing trip a few weeks ago. So this is all connected. It's all part of the big Sawyer brand. And we're just trying to kind of push the brand a little bit more. And so that's what the live series is going to be all about. We will take advantage of this time to, one, introduce you to new products that maybe you haven't seen before, products maybe you've heard of, or maybe it's a product that you see a guide had And you're like, hey, you went to your local store and it's like, hey, can I see this? And they're like, oh, no, we don't have that in yet. That's something that we haven't brought in yet, or it's something new. So definitely reach out to us and we'll do our best to give you that broad scope of what's available. So in that sense, I'm going to kick this off initially. First off, just kind of run through a couple new items that we've released in the last year that you may not be aware of. Then I'm also going to go into some new features that we have that are brand new, that have nobody's even used yet, that are available on our websites. And then I'm also going to go into some of our shipping needs and some of the things that we can do, that you can do to help you out with your shipping, and also some of our ordering process, kind of just telling you what to expect, part of our ordering process. And then at the end, we're going to wrap it up with some care and repair for your paddles and oars. And we do have some things coming out in 2026 that will definitely help out square top owners that are not in the Southern Oregon area. So if you're if you're a few states away from us and you've been running some of our premier square tops, we've got some things you're going to want to check out. So that's a little recap and nutshell of what we've got going on. But welcome here to the first Factory Live of 2026. And I'm going to kick it right off with our two new products that I'm going to introduce you to today. They're both in the Oar line. Okay. And the first one that I want to talk to you about is the Mountain Driftboat Profile. So many of you, if you're a Clackcraft boat owner and you've been running the Clackcraft drift boats, you know what the Mountain Driftboat Profile is. The Mountain Driftboat Profile is very similar to our shoal cut profile, but it's got a bigger head on it, a little bigger top, and a little larger belly. So it's just a little bigger blade overall. So the Mountain Driftboat is a larger shoal cut blade, so to speak, and it does have a top and bottom just like the regular shoal cut. So if you have been to the Clackcraft dealerships, you've seen a Mountain Driftboat blade where it says Clackcraft by Sawyer on one side and it says Mountain Driftboat on the other side. Well, now Gary, my good buddy at Mountain Driftboat, he's kind of decided he's not going to sell oars anymore. He's not going to sell boats anymore. A lot of you know that he's closed up his shop there in Victor. He's probably in Costa Rica surfing somewhere right now. So, hey, Gary, howdy do? Little hanging out on the beach, getting your surf in. But we do have the Mountain Driftboat blade is available. A few of you have taken advantage of this. Mountain Driftboats come in pretty much all of the flavors of square tops. So they do come in a Dyno X, they come in a carbon, they come in a non-square and a square top. And my behind the scenes producer will pull that up on the screen there just to show you real quick where that's at. And they do row very similar to the shoal cut blade, but it does once again just have a little bit bigger top to it. And you can see it kind of comes in all those different sizes, pretty much exactly the same mirrored as our square top brand. So that's one of our main products that I want to let people know about. Right now, the folks that have been finding that have been the folks that are already kind of familiar with it through Clackcraft. But now it's a stock item with Sawyer. Any of our dealers can carry them. Some of our dealers have brought them in on their preseason. So if you're in a shop that carries a lot of drift boat and fishing product, as far as carrying our oars, ask them. Ask about the Mountain Driftboat Profile. Do you have the Mountain Driftboat Profile? And that would be very, very good question to ask, and see if they're getting a preseason coming in, and maybe they can bring in the Mountain Drift boats. Real quick, gonna just double check here. Just checking a little note from my producer, aka Big Al. But now moving right along, we're gonna skip away from the Mountain Drift Boat. Got any questions on the Mountain Drift Boat? Definitely fire it off to us. Leave your questions in the comments. We do actually get all the comments feed into our producer, so it does actually show us when you guys are commenting and questions that you have. So go ahead and just put your questions in the comments there. We'll make sure we get to those as we go along. And I do have folks helping me out that are kind of monitoring these and reading the comments, and they'll be helping me kind of feed these to us. So now, as we move away from the mountain drift boat, another new product that I'd like to bring out to you is probably one that you haven't seen yet. And this is actually the Smoker VLAM. So many of you are aware of the Smoker Dynalite, right? The Smoker Dynalite is actually a solid ash shaft, one piece, solid ash, no square, all wood oar. So, if you're a wood oar person out there, you really like, say, the Sawyer Light, and you like that wooden oar that we've been making for the last 58 years, this is the newest version of an all-wood drift boat rowing oar with a solid ash shaft and a VLAM blade. So not only is it gorgeous, one of the most attractive oars out there on the market, but it is an incredibly light swing weight rowing machine. If you're running a drift boat or a fishing raft, these are ideal. Just a really nice light swing. Now, because they are primarily designed to the angler, you will find that these only come in a narrow and a shoal. They don't really come in a wide. If you want a wide VLAM, we have several wide VLAMs available. But this oar is really kind of specific to narrowing into what that fishing community has been using. And if you go to the folks there, Boulder Boat Works over in Colorado, they have been running the Ash Dynalites a lot. And this little Smoker VLAM is because of them. They pestered us for a few years about it, just trying to get something that kind of had a little bit more high-end look to it, a little bit more of a real subtle, craftsman look to tie in with their boats. That is the Smoker VLAM. And so you can see right in here, if you look real close, this right here, that is one solid piece of ash. So a solid piece of ash with a VLAM laminate makes this an incredibly light swing weight and a really nice rowing oar, especially for the angler. So my producer will pop that up on the screen as well as I change out to something else. And you can see in there, comes in the several sizes, obviously you can get it anywhere from an 8.5 to a 10, but it really only shows it in that VLAM narrow and the VLAM shoal. So those are two oar products that you possibly weren't aware of. Maybe you hadn't seen them, or maybe you have seen them on the river and you just didn't really know, like, wait a minute, I saw that VLAM blade, but it didn't have any X-weave on it. And it didn't have a square. What was that? Well, now you know. So the Smoker VLAMs and the mountain drift boats, those are two of our highlights in the oar line. Now I'm going to take a little bit of a pivot, and we're going to move off of the oars, and we're going to move into paddles. And not just any paddle, but we are going to move into kid paddles. So many of you know the kid paddle line that we have released. And this beauty here is one of the newest creatures in the kids paddles. So the kid paddles have had 3 characters for many, many years. And so we finally decided, hey, maybe it's something that we should do a little change up on and see if there's some more life there. And look at how vivid these colors are. Look at how that pops off the page, right? Now that is not something that has been available in our process ever. But now I am releasing to you right here live is the Sawyer Picture Print, the SPP. So if you actually have a design, just like these beautiful ones that are on the kids' paddles, we're going to go over to show you how you can kind of expand on that. So before we move on from that, I'm going to have my producer just pull up the 7 available kid models. This is one of them, and that's one of them. And then you see you got the full 7 there. So we've got quite an offering. We are going to be asking your opinion and getting you to actually give us some input on that and just give us some feedback on what models you really like. So we're going to kind of do a little polling on our social channels to kind of just see which one of those really we should make more and more of. But new Sawyer kid paddles, 7 models to choose from. You know, we're sorry these didn't get out for the holidays, but maybe, you know, if you got a grandkid or a niece or nephew around that you want to get into paddling, this is a way to do it. And literally the whole piece of the kid paddle is real quick is if my producer can throw me back to the main screen, I want to just kind of go over the kid paddle and some of the things that it really has to offer. And this is the key functioning part of the kids paddle. So you got the beautiful graphic on that side, but this is an interactive journal. So we've toyed around with this and we may still do it, but this should be writing on your shelf if you're a retailer or if you're a parent that's looking for a gift item. You get this paddle for a child, buy yourself a nice big fat black Sharpie because you want to write their name, their age, and this should be filled out. This should be filled out with everything that they see. And if you go on the river, one thing that should be in the dry bag when the kids got this paddle is you should have a black Sharpie with you. And you should be writing all those things down. And then, you know, when the kid's 17, you know, you can take it out and hang it up in the cabin at the lake. So definitely something to keep in mind. It's an interactive paddle. It's a paddle journal. So do yourself a favor, get yourself a kid paddle for that little child in your life, but get a black Sharpie. Start writing on them. So now I mentioned a little bit about the program as far as what you can do on the kids paddles and some of the other paddles. So one of the things that we are releasing and is already live is we actually have trophy paddles now. So we've made trophy paddles forever. We've never really put them on our website, but we actually have trophy paddles. And with the trophy paddles, we have the SPP. So the Sawyer picture print tied in with a trophy paddle gives you an absolute unlimited trophy experience. You can make anything. And so if my producer will roll into that and pull up the customization on a trophy paddle, and he can show you just a little bit of how the customization works. So you go onto the page, select the size that you want. Once you click on the size, there's actually a customization button. When you click on the customization button, you take any picture you want, anything at all, and you just plug it in to the paddle. And then when you submit your order, that picture is actually sent to us. And it'll print just as vivid as you printing out a picture through like like Snapfish or something. So, you know, it's absolutely incredible that you can put this on all these trophy paddles. This is something that we are going to have on our website to where you can actually put it on an oar blade. You can put it on a paddle blade. And really, it is just unlimited customization. It's accessible right there on the website. You can do it at the wee hours of the morning when you're getting your ideas flowing. But this customization feature on the paddles is a game changer. So anybody that's looking for a special gift, something that's really going to stand out, you can go ahead and get them a whitewater paddle, customize what goes on there, put a print of their favorite pet, or a logo, maybe some custom graphics. We are working on some custom graphics right now that we are going to release when we put this over onto the whitewater paddle page, because we're going to give you some examples of some very vivid Sawyer picture prints that you can use as an example of what you can do to push onto your paddle or oar. All right. So those are really the primary new releases that I wanted to get to. And we'll kind of we'll introduce a few new products every time we're on here. And once again, if you have any questions on any of those new products, you can definitely reach out to us, send us a comment, or if you watch this, just put a comment in the video and reach out to us that way. Now, the next piece I want to move into is shipping. Shipping is a really big issue when it comes to our type of product, right? We ship oars, There are people that ship pole vaults and push rods for flats boats. And even some of the fly rod and fishing rod companies would sell one-piece rods. One-piece items that are over 9 feet are extremely hard to ship. And as it's the end consumer or the guide or the dealer, as you will notice, shipping of just a couple items is really quite expensive. Now, that's why a lot of folks go to a composite oar for shipping experience, where they can break it down and gets into a smaller box. But, we don't want that to take away from folks that want our square tops and our all wood oars. If you want one of those pairs of mountain driftboat oars, or you want that ash smoker VLAM, that is a one-piece oar. And so we have found something that extremely has helped out that process. And I'm going to share with you just a little bit of shipping magic that we've stumbled into, thanks to our friends over there at Air Rafts. But we are shipping oars through air cargo. And specifically, we are shipping oars through Alaska Air Cargo. And it is something that has really changed just the shipment of oars all over the country. Now, first of all, it's very important that you have an Alaska air travel that actually goes to you. But if you figure that part out, then you can literally get a pair of oars to any place that Alaska flies. And the way it works is, first of all, I will show you some of this in a moment, but before we go there, you pretty much go onto our website. You can click the link to go on to the Alaska website, and it will show you the air cargo map. And that's your first step. So you need to find that spot. And if my producer can pull up that map real quick, you can look at that real quick and really kind of find out where that is. But you got to find the airport near you. Now, of course, Alaska Airlines is something that is Western based, and they are definitely stronger in the West. And I can tell you right now, the states that really make out in Alaska Air are Montana, Oregon, Idaho, California. Unbelievable amount of airports that it goes to. But there are also airports throughout the entire country. And if you go into the domestic locations and you hit that button, you can actually see where that airport is near you and see how many there are in your actual state. So there's quite a few. It's not just those few states that I rambled off. So if you are actually in any of those states listed there, that means you get an Alaska air freight to you. So other things to notice, you found your airport. Now it is a flat rate of $115, anything from an 8-foot box to a 10.5-foot box. Once again, unbelievable. No, none of the shipping companies are doing that. But then the other thing that you need to be flexible is this is something that we're making this effort to help get these oars to you. We're making a drive to the airport. This week, we took 10 packages yesterday to the airport. Okay. Normally it's 5 packages, maybe every week. But we are finding that we're making that effort. People are utilizing it. And now there's a little bit of effort on your part. So you found your airport. You need to know, one, who's going to be the person picking it up. If you can't be there, then we need to know the person, your friend, your spouse, whoever it is that's going to be picking them up, because we need their name and their ID and their email, so that basically when they come to get your oars at the airport, they are going to show their ID and be like, oh, this is you. Yes, it is. Here's your oars, sir, ma'am. Thank you very much. So that little bit of legwork on your part, you find your airport, you find who's going to pick it up. And then the third thing that's very important is you need to be a little flexible. You need to, when you get that email from us, you got to be like, okay, these oars are landing in a couple days. So it's like, on your weekly to-do, do I got anything I got to do this week? Yeah, you got to make sure you're available to go to the airport and pick up my oars on Thursday. And, so you definitely need to make sure. And each little airport is different. So you want to find out, how long are they going to hold your oars? Now, I'll tell you, at this Medford airport here in Southern Oregon, we go right up to baggage check. And we're checking all the boxes right at baggage check. I think they know us as the box people because we show up with these 9 and 10-foot boxes all the time. But there is an air cargo in Portland. If you go to air cargo in Portland, you're going to go to the air cargo area of the airport. You're not going into the terminal. So it just depends. A lot of these places like in Montana and in Oregon and Idaho, smaller airports, you may just be going to baggage claim or oversized bags. But that's kind of how it works. Now, I want to share a little story with you real quick on the Alaska air shipping, which is really absolutely encapsulates what this is all about. So we had a customer going to the Middle Fork last summer. They needed oars. They didn't make their plan in time. They're like, I need to buy some new oars. I'm buying square tops and I need you to ship them to the Boise airport. We shipped them to the Boise airport. They landed in Boise at 4 p.m. The person swung in and picked them up at 6 p.m. and headed to Boundary Creek to the put-in. That is a beautiful thing if it works out like that. And that's really what we're shooting for. And we can tell you guys that this is not a fledgling program. We have shipped over 100 pairs of oars through Alaska Air Cargo in 2025. So it is something that really works. So if you're that person that is the thing that is holding you back from actually making that order for a pair of square tops or a pair of smoker ash oars or a pair of mountain driftboat oars that are all one piece, look at that air cargo map and really dial into that, because that is a game changer. It can save you some money and get those oars to where they need. They do have several airports all the way across the country. And so if you are back east, I believe we ship some to Chicago O'Hare Airport. worked out just right. There's some other places even further east that they've got airports. So just, look into it, see where an airport is close to you, and utilize the air cargo. And just going to do a real quick check. Do we have any questions, comments? Nothing. All right. I'm going to roll on. Next piece is primarily for people that are ordering with us directly, be basically guides or end consumers. And this is something that is something that's very unique to Sawyer. So if you take a moment and go into your online ordering experience, when you get online and you are actually going to make your order, you figure out what you want, size, color, all that. You load it into your cart. You go to the checkout of your cart. You put in your credit card money. Boom. You hit that button. I've got my order. And most places, if it's a fulfillment center, it's basically getting tracked and picked, packaged, put into a box, and it's on its way. Well, at Sawyer, we allow you to order full menu. Everything on the line on the website is available. And there are multiple customizations available. So we are not an Amazon fulfillment center. We are not a warehouse facility with all these things in place. We have a factory, which is where I am right now, that is assembling your order to you. They are assembling the order to order, and that is made specifically for you. So what that means is that you do that whole process like we all do online, get in your cart, go to your checkout, put in your credit card, boom. You get the confirmation from us, just like you get a confirmation from anybody. Your order is in. Thank you, Mr. Smith. But some of you are kind of like, okay, well, I'm not going to wait the week to 10 days. I'm going to basically just keep checking that every day. And if you log in and look at your order in our process, you will find yourself in our system. You get into your order and you will see your name. You'll see your whole order. You're like, that's great. And then it says these two words, pending fulfillment. And you're like, what's that? I put in the money. I put in the order. I made it all happen. Why am I pending? And we are sorry to tell you that maybe we'll look at trying to change the verbiage, but pending fulfillment means you're being built right now, custom to what you ordered, your specific pattern, your specific labels, your grips, either counterbalance or non-counterbalance. Does it have a karmic label on it or not? Is it got red rope or black rope? All those little things are being sorted out by the factory guys right here in Talent, and your order is being assembled. Now, our timelines are really pretty good. We've taken what used to be a 4 to 8 week process, and now we're down to about a 2-week process at max. And that is really a significant change. Most of the orders will even process out in that week. But if you come into your account in that period of time, from when you put your credit card in to the box is fully detailed, packaged, and ready to ship out, you will see those two little words, pending fulfillment. So if you watch this, I'm going to tell you, pending fulfillment means your order is being assembled for you. And that is our little takeaway from our customer service, from that question that they get asked all the time. So hopefully that little tidbit will get through and help people out. So pending fulfillment means being made just for you. All right. So now we're going to move on to our final segment. And thank you all for hanging with us here. But our final segment that we're moving into is paddle and oars repair and care. And I'm going to ask my assistant to bring these 2 oars over for right here and replace them from the brand new. And while we do that, it will basically just change out a little bit of change here. Oh, never mind that. Little bit of change going from new product to repair time. One more item. Perfect. Okay. All right. Now, as all of you know, our product base foundation is wood. So when it comes to care and what you should do with your oars and your paddles, the best number one thing you can do is varnish those things every once in a while. You know, if you just pull them out and varnish them once a year or twice a year, the product is going to be way better off, and it is going to take care of you if you take care of it. So, number one tip, very straightforward, no flashy graphic here. Just do yourself a favor and get a can of varnish and varnish your paddles, varnish your oars. The varnish that we use and we sell is completely, uniquely, specially formulated right here, Miller Spar Varnish. It is formulated just for Sawyer. The only place you can get it is here with us, and we actually sell it in a little pint or a quart, and we buy it by the vat of 5 gallons. And that is something that we have been in an agreement with Miller Paint in Portland. If you call Miller Paint and say, could I get that spar varnish that Sawyer gets? They're going to say, no, it is not something they sell, but it is something that we sell. And it is something that you should look at as an investment into your product. We have several boat builders and dealers that literally will revarnish the squares of their square tops every year because that's where all the wood is. So if you take advantage of that, and one of the number one things that is in the varnish that is formulated for Sawyer is it has some of the best UV protection of anything out there. And the UV protection in the varnish is what's going to save your product from all those times out on the water when you're exposed to the UV. So definitely varnish your paddles and oars. The other thing is think of your oars as your most expensive and most cherished fly rod. Do not leave your oars in your drift boat uncovered for the winter. Do you do that to your fly rod? I doubt it. So take your oars out of your boat, put them in the garage, put them somewhere where they don't have to endure the weather. They have to endure enough when they're out being used all season. But in the wintertime is not the time that you want your oars to be degrading. So take your oars, no matter what they are. But if they're a wood, absolutely. Even our composites, absolutely. Take them out of the boat, take them into the garage, put them into a storage facility, put them somewhere that they're not going to have the extremes of the weather pounding on them. In Montana, we have literally seen people that have had their boats full of water, freezes a block of ice, and their oars just happen to be on the bottom of it. Once everything thaws out, then they pull their oars out and they're ready to go. And that is not something that you want your oars to have to go through. So very important, just take your oars and store them. Also, if you are in extreme temperatures, there is something that happens that if you in a composite, if you've gotten a little bit of water in your oar shaft or in your oar blade, you need to make sure that you drain that out and store it somewhere that it's not just going to get down to 20 degrees below zero. Because if it gets down to 20 degrees below zero and you got an oar blade that is full of 2 inches of water, when that freezes, it's going to split that blade. And then springtime's going to come and you'll be like, oh, Sawyer, what's wrong with my blade? Where they've been stored? Out in the shed? How cold did it get? 20 below? There you know it. All right. So those are just a couple tips, some common sense things, some things that a lot of our customers have given us feedback, and we've educated folks throughout the way. And of course, we know that probably most of them that need this information, they're not watching these videos. But we are putting it out there so that you can be educated and know that you should be taking care of your oars. Now, moving on to the real game changer that's happening now. And the biggest game changer is you grab the yellow towel out of the shipping bay. The biggest game changer that we have is that most of you that are running square tops or running all wood oars have that pro tip on there. And if you put the 200 to 300 days on there, we know what happens is that pro tip starts to wear down. Okay. So if you're starting to wear down that pro tip, you need to start thinking about replacing it. And typically what happens is when you've wore through the black end of the pro tip, when you've wore through the very black end piece here of the pro tip, and you wear through that, you will start to see some yellow and then some white, and then you see wood. So you don't want it to get all the way to wood. So before it gets to wood, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to reach out to us. And basically at the factory, we do actually do pro tip repair. So we do put new pro tips on there. But one of the things is it's not many of you live right next to the factory. So we have actually made molded pro tips. This right here, that goes on a wide. And we've actually are reintroducing these. We used to have these years ago. And it is a way that you can literally take care of your oar if you are in Tennessee or in West Virginia and you can't get those oars back to us. So it is something that does take a little bit of work on your part. First of all, I'll show you that this is basically just a regular blade. And the first thing you got to do on the regular blade is that you need to grind off the tip. And so if you look right here, you saw that pro tip that I had on the other one. You can see this here. There is no pro tip on there. Okay, so that's a lot of grinding. You got to grind all that old tip off there completely. So you grind that old tip off there completely. And then you bought the replaceable tip. You put the replaceable tip on there with some epoxy. You're going to epoxy it down. If you look real close, you can kind of see that it's raising up a little bit up in here. So you may want to actually clamp it down, put just a thin piece of metal on each side and clamp that down when you epoxy it down. But that's going to be the key piece. And then also you're going to want to stretch film it in so it gets a nice tight fit around the blade. One of the things that we're going to be demonstrating one of these in just a bit is that we believe that if you take and cut this in half, you cut that in half and put it on as two pieces, and have that center 1 inch out of the middle of it, then it's going to actually fit a lot better. And the very end of your blade right there, that's never going to hit anything. I mean, what is it going to hit into? It's the corners of the blades that really get wore out. And then you may be going, well, I don't run wides. I run shoal cuts. That's what I love. And that's what I've always run. Well, the shoal cut is the same thing. And the shoal cut actually is a little bit easier because that piece there, you can literally, it's made exactly to fit that bend. You hook it on there, slide it into place, seal it up. And then once you epoxy that into place, you're going to have a really good replacement tip. So this is going to take a little bit of work for doing it upright, but this is something that is a complete game changer for folks that are looking to do repairs on their oars and not have to get your oars all the way back here to Oregon. And so, yeah, I see we've got somebody from back in Tennessee. This would be perfect for you. And it is going to take a little doing. The biggest thing is we're going to break it down step by step for folks. Biggest piece is you got to sand off that old ProTip. Then when you put the new one on, you're going to have to epoxy that in. You're going to have to clamp it all down. And then, what was I talking about right in the beginning? This is what it's going to look like. You're going to need to sand out the rough epoxies, and you need to revarnish this. Because all this area right in here, if it does not filled in with epoxy, you've just exposed that. So you need to seal that back up with varnish. So it's going to be a little bit of an extensive kit, but an excellent winter project. And it's something that you can put a lot of life into a pair of oars with just a little bit of grinding, a little bit of epoxy, and a little bit of varnish time, and then you've fully replaced. So if you're looking at your oars and you see those little corners wearing down, you are a candidate for this. Reach out to our team. We will get these out to you. But we will be doing another live video in a couple weeks where we'll actually go through step by step on how to do that. We will have these live on our website here shortly. But even before that, if you're interested, reach out to our team. You can send us a message here, send us a direct message on Facebook, Instagram, or just email us at info@paddlesandoars.com. Several ways to get a hold of us. But this is a game changer of, once again, how we can help you take care of your product. And it's really, it's square tops, it's all wood oars, ash dynalites, smoker whitewaters, Sawyer lights, all those things that you've wore down that ProTip, you've wore through. Definitely get that taken care of. Put a little time in. Winter time's the best time to get that taken care of. And it'll give you years of service left if you just take care of that. If you are in Southern Oregon, or if you are on the I-5 corridor, in the postseason, pretty much September through November, drop your oars off and have us do it. This is a fix for mainly folks that can't get here. But if you're in the West and you travel through Southern Oregon on I-5, do yourself a favor. If you notice that your tips have wore through and they're starting to wear out, get those things into us in that shoulder season of September to November and get a factory ProTip put back on there. And it will look exactly the same as it did when it was brand new. And so that is one of those things that you should definitely take advantage of. This is a fix that will replace that and give everybody else at least something that's close to what you can get from the factory. It'll take a little bit of grinding, a little bit of work on your part, but you get those squared away. So if we don't have any questions, I think we're going to wrap this up. That is our first live for 2026. thank you all very much for paying attention to us. If you have any questions on anything that we covered here, leave us an email, leave us a comment, share it with your friends and neighbors, and we will be letting everybody know when we do this again in about 2 weeks. We will actually have some representation from the factory helping us go through some of these processes to show you what to do. So we're trying to just put ourselves out there, give you access to Sawyer, and in turn, get you the best product to get out on the river. And when you do get out on the river, remember, be patient, be kind, and share the waterways. Thank you very much, and we'll see you on the water. Bye for now.